Good morning. So in the last class we have been discussing about what is law, what is business, and then about business law and all those things. So in today's class we are going to discuss on the topic called contract. So in this contract, what are all the things which we are going to discuss in today's class is contract meaning and then definition of contracts, enforceability of contract, types of agreement, contract act and essential elements of valid contract. So contract. So what is contract? As I have already told you in the previous class, it is an agreement between two parties to enter or to buy or sell a goods. So this contract has been defined by so many authors. So the first definition has been given by a person called Pollock. So Pollock has said that every agreement and promise enforceable at law is contract. That means if any buyer and seller. Okay, so if you are going to buy a car with an agency people and you are asking them to sell a car. Okay, so in such cases you are making an agreement stating that you want this and this type of particular car with this color and all those things, what are all the things which you require. And the seller is also agreeing and promising you to deliver the goods after 10 days as it is not available which the color which you are asking. So now you have come to an agreement, and in that agreement both of them have agreed to buy and sell the product, and we have agreed for the terms and conditions like the your cost of the car, color of the car, all those things both of them you have agreed, and then both of you have promised. So he has assured you or promised you to sell the car after 10 days. The same way you are also giving an assurance stating that you will pay half the amount today and the balance amount on the delivery day. So in such cases it is called promise. So in that cases on the 10th day, if the seller is not delivering you the car according to the promise which he has made, or he has delivered the car but you have not paid the balance amount. So it's vice versa. If anyone has not keep up your promise, in such cases according to the law, the person who has got affected can force the other person to do the contract, that is pay the amount or deliver the car. So in such cases, if both any one person is not doing, you can sue against them by putting a case on the court on that particular person. The second definition has been given by a person called Salman. So he is saying that a contract is an agreement creating and defining obligations between the parties. So as I said, agreement will be there between the buyer and seller, and here a slight difference which he is saying is obligation between the parties. That means both the parties have given an concern saying that after 10 days he will deliver and after 10 days he will pay it. So that is the thing which again they are saying in this definition also. So that is what the Solomon has given it as an definition. The third definition is according to the Contract Act under section 2H. So according to the Indian Contract Act 1872, this definition under section 2H has been defined as an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. So as I told you, if any one of the party is not as per the agreement, they have not doing the contract, in such cases the other party can force them to do it, and after forcing also if they are denying or if they are not agreeing to do it, in such cases you can go and file a suit against them. So here next one is enforceability. So enforceability is nothing but an agreement is enforceable if it is recognized by court. In order to be enforceable by law, the agreement must create legal obligation between the parties. So that means when you are entering an agreement, if you want to buy or sell any product, that product should be an legal product which has been approved by the government. So in such cases, as I told you, it should be a legal product and both the parties should have agreed to buy and sell on that particular day, and the terms and conditions as they have mentioned or they said as they agreed has to be there inside the contract. So then only if anyone is not performing their contract, you can force them and make them to do it. If they are not doing, then you can go and, as I told you, you can file a suit and or make a complaint in a police station, and then you can file a suit in the court. So if as per the agreement, if anyone has not done, then the court will take the necessary action based on the terms and conditions of the contract. So next one is your types of agreement. So as I told you, always contracts or agreements. So when you say about agreement, there are different types of agreement. The first and the foremost agreement is social agreement. So social agreement cannot be enforced or not enforceable because they do not create legal obligation between the parties. So that means it's a general term. Say for example, if you are calling your friend and saying that today is my birthday, I am going to give you an birthday party. So we will go for a cinema, and after that we will go for a dinner. So both of you are making a call and you are agreeing to do that. So after some time, since because of some other problem or some other reason, your friend is not able to, he is not able to give you dinner, or he has not taken you to cinema. In such cases, you cannot sue or you cannot force particular friend, because it's just a social agreement and nobody is going to get affected because of it. So according to our law, when you are putting an agreement, both the parties should get benefited. That is the main thing in when you are entering inside any contract. So in this case, when you say about social agreement, so it's a normal casual thing which you have invited and he has also agreed. Due to some reason, if you are not giving also, he cannot sue against you. That is what called as an social agreement. And then next one is your legal agreement. So as the name itself says you as legal, it is called as your as per rules and regulations. So legal agreements are enforceable because they create legal obligations between the parties. So that is what called as your agreement. So when you say about legal rules and regulations are binding you. So A promises to sell his car to B, or A promises to sell his house to B. So both of them, they were agreed and they have entered a contract, and as per the agreement, if anyone is not performing, as again and again I am telling you, you can sue that particular person. So here I have given you a simple way about the Contract Act. So contract is equal to agreement plus enforceability. If you want a contract to be an valid contract, then there should be agreement. If anybody is not doing, you can enforce it. So what is agreement? Offer plus acceptance. Somebody should be there to sell the product and somebody else is there to buy the product. So according to the law terms, we have to say it as offer and acceptance. Only in marketing you have to use the term as buyer and seller. Here offerer and offeree, acceptor and acceptee. Like this only you have to tell the terms. Then what is enforceability? Enforceability is equal to legal obligations between the parties. So legal obligation is according to the rules and regulations which is framed by the government. As per the government rules, we have to enter and then we have to proceed with the contract. Next, we are going to discuss about the essentials of valid contract. So when you say about essentials of valid contract, I told you for entering into any contract for buying and selling a product, there should be an agreement between the two parties. So in such cases, what are all the things which has to be inside that contract? That is what considered to be your essentials of valid contract. So in order to make you to simply understand, if you want to join a college or school, there will be some basic documents which are required to be submitted for entering inside the school or college. The same way, when you want to put an agreement or contract, there are certain essential elements which has to be there inside that contract. So that are the things which we are going to discuss inside your essential elements of valid contract. So in this essentials of valid contract, it has been subdivided into 10 categories. The first one is your offer and acceptance, legal obligation, lawful consideration, capacity of parties, free consent, lawful object, in writing and registration, certainty of terms, possibility of performance, not expressly declared void. Now, let us start discussing one by one. The first and the foremost essentials of valid contract which is required is your offer and acceptance. So in this offer and acceptance, it has been given as an agreement. There must be a lawful order by one party and lawful acceptance of that offer by other party. The term lawful means that the acceptor and the offerer must satisfy the requirements of Contract Act. So as I told you, so here offerer and agreement, that is the thing which we have to use. So here offer and acceptance is nothing but if A is agreeing to sell his car or bicycle or refrigerator or whatever it may be. So if he is agreeing to sell and the other is offering to sell the product, and if B is agreeing to buy the product in the same manner, that is the acceptance price, all those things, then it is called as your offer and acceptance. That is what I have given you in the example as A offers to sell his cycle to B for rupees 45,000. This is an offer. If B accepts this offer with the same amount, then it is called as acceptance. The next essential elements of valid contract is legal obligation. So the legal obligation is nothing but the parties to an agreement should create legal obligations. It means that if one party does not fulfill his promise, he shall be liable for breach of contract. So that's what I in the first slide itself or second slide itself I have explained you. If one party has performed and another party has not performed, that is the seller has sold the car but buyer has not paid the balance amount or the full amount, in such cases then legally he can file and get the money back. So again I have given you one more example here. A offers to B to sell his house for rupees 2 million. So it's a contract as it creates legal obligation. So B has also agreed to buy it and he has also signed an agreement. So later on if he refuses, it cannot be done as it has been entered inside a contract. The next essential elements is lawful consideration. So when we say about consideration, consideration is nothing but something in return. That means if I am giving you something, I have to get back something. So that is the main thing in case of your business. So here according to our law, lawful consideration means for a valid contract, consideration must be lawful. So it is the price paid by one party for the promise of the other party. A contract is enforceable only when both the parties gives and takes something. So that something given or taken is called as consideration. That's what I simply told you as consideration is nothing but something in return. So if I am promising you to sell my car, you are promising me and giving me money. So you are getting my car and I am getting the money. So if only one person is getting benefited, then according to law, it's not considered as a valid contract. The next element is capacity of parties. So when we say about capacity of parties, this is a very important concept in our law. So whether anybody can enter into the contract? No. According to the law, there are certain rules and regulations for a party to enter or sign in any agreement. So that means, so according to our law, the person who has completed 18 years alone, they can enter into any agreement to buy or sell any goods. The same way, there are some other essential elements also for the capacity of parties. That means that particular person who is entering into a contract beside 18 years, he should be mentally good in condition. So in such cases, he should not be, the same way he should not be an illegal person. That means if he has done any criminal offense, if he is in the prison, in such cases he cannot enter into any contract. So according to the law, when we say capacity of parties, mainly 3 categories will come inside. The first one is the parties should have completed 18 years. Then the second one is there should not be any criminal offences on the name of the person who is entering into the contract, and there should not be any mental disorders for the person when he is entering inside any contracts. So what are all the essential elements which we are discussing? I am just giving an outline. So all these things will be discussed in detail as in separate chapter chapter in our next classes. Okay, so here I have given you an example about the capacity of parties. M, a person of unsound mind. Unsound mind means a person who is considered to be an lunatic or else half mental or full mental. In that category, the same way a drunkard person, when he has drunk, and in such situations and all, you cannot go and put an agreement with that particular for selling or buying any goods. That is what called as an unsound mind. So if he is agreeing to sell his house to rupees S for rupees 2 lakh, it is not considered as a valid contract, because when he is entering a contract, he is in an unsound mind category. Besides your capacity of parties to contract, the next one is your free consent. When you say about free consent for any valid contract, this is also one of the essential elements. That means free consent is nothing but no one should have forced you to enter or sign inside any contract. That is called as your undue influence. The same way, it should not be done in a fraudulent manner, or it should not be done by misrepresentation, or there should not be any mistake when you are entering into any contract. Okay, so free consent means it's what called as coercion or undue influence should not be there. So nobody should have threatened you, or nobody should have forced you to do a contract. So when you say about threatened, you could have watched in many movies when they want some documents or assets. In such cases, the other party will be the gunpoint. They are asking you to sign in the agreement or contract. So if you are signing in such sort of contract or agreement, later on you can file a suit saying that you have been under coercion and you have been forced by that particular person in a gunpoint, and you have been asked to put the signature in the agreement. So when you say all these things, according to the law, it is considered as an illegal agreement or illegal contract. The same way, you should not be undue influence, that is by threatening. It's one is forcing, another one is threatening. So for threatening, for example, if you are threatening your father or mother saying that if you are not buying me that bike or car, I will not eat, I will not go to college, or I will go out of this house and all. In such cases, even your parents can file a suit against you. They can make a complaint in the police station and they can sue against you for threatening the parents. Okay, so according to the law, committing a suicide or threatening another person or forcing other person to enter into any contract, all these things are considered to be an illegal one. The same way, fraud. So if two twin brothers are there, they look same, and in such cases, knowingly that you have made the contract with his brother, knowingly if he signed, it is called fraud. And suppose you are mistakenly going and getting signature from that particular person. So even though it's a mistake from your side, that person, when he is signing, it is called as fraud. Okay, so when you say about misrepresentation, so when you are entering a contract over a phone, and if they are asking the goods for 50 rupees and you are hearing it as 15. So in such cases, because of the communication, there is a misrepresentation about the prices. So whatever it may be, then since the contract has been heard in a wrong way, automatically when you enter and when you perform, it will get cancelled. So that is also called as an illegal contract. Okay, so all these things comes under your free consent. Next one is lawful objects. So it is necessary that agreement is made for a lawful object. The object of contract must not be illegal, immoral, opposed to public policy. So every agreement with unlawful object is illegal and therefore contract is void. That means when you are entering into any contract, if I want sugar, 1 kg of sugar, 100 bags of sugar, and I am entering into a contract with the dealer or manufacturer, in such cases, it is an lawful object and a legal contract. If I am going to sign a contract between the person for buying 100 kgs of brown sugar, in such cases, it is considered as an illegal product which has been banned by the government. So in such cases, the contract will become illegal, immoral, which is considered to be opposed by the public policy. Normally, the goods which you are buying and selling, it should be goods useful for the public. So if it is not considered to be an useful product, or if it is going to cause any illusions, or if it's going to affect the health of the public, then it is considered as an opposed to public policy. So in such cases, according to the government rules, all these things should not be there or inside in contract. So if you are going to buy an brown sugar, it's considered as an illegal contract which has been opposed by the government, and it's considered as an void contract. The next most required one in the contract is your writing and registration. Normally a contract or an agreement, it can be done in two ways. One is your oral or written format. But normally according to the law, if it is written and if registered, then only it is considered as an legal one. So it's better to go with an writing manner than in an oral manner. Even if you are going for an oral agreement or contract, in such cases, there should be a third party who should not be related to both of you. Then only it is considered as an valid contract. Next one is your certainty of terms. So when you say about certainty of terms, the terms and conditions of a contract should be clear, complete and certain. If the terms are uncertain, the agreement is considered to be a void agreement. Say for example, if I am asking a seller to send me 200 books on a specific date, and I am saying I will pay the amount on the delivery date. Okay, so and that seller is also agreeing me to sell 200 books. So this contract is considered to be an uncertainty contract. Why? Because I have not mentioned the title of the book. Okay, so in such cases, without knowing the title, the bookseller cannot sell or deliver the goods. So in such cases, I have not mentioned the title and I have not mentioned anything properly. So automatically it will become an void contract. So again, that is what I have given you as an example. A promises to sell 200 books to B without specifying their titles. The agreement is void because the terms are not clear. Next essential elements of your valid contract is possibility of performance. So whatever the contract which you have made or agreed to do it, it should be an possible one. So then only it is considered as a valid contract. So if a person is promising you to do an uncertain thing or the thing which is not possible, and you are also entering into a contract which you know that it is not possible. Okay, so then it will be considered as a void contract. So here I have given you the explanation. A valid contract should be capable of being performed. An agreement to do an impossible act is void. So if the act is legally or physically impossible to perform, the agreement cannot be enforced by law. Okay, so that is, again I have given you an example also. A agrees with B to discover a treasure by magic. So everyone we know, through magic treasure cannot be brought inside. So you cannot bring a gold coin pots, all those things through your magic work. So in such cases, knowingly if both the parties are entering into a contract, we know that it's an uncertain thing which cannot be performed, then it is what called as your void contract. So there should be a possibility of performance. So possibility in the sense, if you are asking an architecture to build an house, he is also agreeing if there is a ground for you, and then he will make a plan and he will start constructing a building, and finally the building key will be given to you. And then you will also be paying the amount which is required by the contractor or by the architecture. Then it becomes an valid contract, and that is what called as possibility of performance. So hope you would have understood what is contract and what is meant by enforceability, and what are all the essential things which are required inside your valid contract. So in the next class we will discuss about the types of contract. Thank you.